So if you're new to bait finesse, you might want to do what a lot of more experienced bait finesse anglers do in the wintertime when it gets cold, and that is switching from bass fishing to trout fishing. And in this video, I'm going to go over my personal favorite lures for trout fishing, and that's due to the fact that these lures have given me the most success. Now, if you have some favorite lures that you use that are extremely successful that you don't see in this video, feel free to leave them down in the comments for other people to see. Now, before we start, I just want to say that these lures I'm going to be showing you are extremely lightweight. So hopefully you have a rod that will be able to load them up and cast them. But if not, I suggest you go on AliExpress and find a cheap one, or maybe even go to Walmart or Bass Pro and get one of those cheap Shakespeare micro lights. But with that being said, let us begin. Okay, so as you can see, the first lure on this list is going to be an inline spinner. And my personal favorite brand of inline spinner is going to be the original Warden's Rooster tail. Now it's kind of funny, when I was a kid and first started lure fishing, the Rooster tail was all I threw. And yes, this lure catches all sorts of different types of fish, but I didn't start fishing these lures for trout until I started bait finessing. Now the great thing about these lures is that you can find them pretty much everywhere. Bass Pro, Walmart, anywhere that has fishing tackle, and they're really cheap. I think about $3 to $4 depending on the size, and they come in all sorts of sizes. This one is 1/8. I think they go down as low as 1/32 of an ounce all the way up to 1 ounce, and this is the weight of this little lead part right here, this little cylinder. So this whole assembly is probably closer to 5 grams than 1/8 of an ounce. But these lures cut through the air very well. They're easy to cast, and they come in a huge assortment of colors. Now, as far as color choice goes, of course that's going to be up to you and what's in your waters, but I've had the most success on these 3 colors that are actually on this particular model right here, which is pink, white, and yellow. In fact, my best day ever of trout fishing with an inline spinner was an all pink Rooster tail, where I would slow roll it and then twitch it a couple of times and just keep repeating that, and I was just catching fish after fish. Now, I will admit that I haven't tried all the brands of inline spinners, but what keeps me with the Rooster tail is just that they work all the time. And what I mean by that is that a few years ago, I actually tried a couple of the Bass Pro Shops brand inline spinners, and they were horrible, complete garbage. And the reason they were garbage was that more than half the time the blade would not spin. And it's very important for that blade to spin and create the vibration and the flash. But when it comes to the Rooster tail, these blades always spin. No matter how fast you retrieve, how slow you retrieve, they always spin. So yeah, the first lure on the list is going to be the Warden's Rooster tail. Alright guys, so the second lure on the list is obviously the infamous trout magnet. Now, this is a trout magnet body with an aftermarket jig head that gives it a little bit more weight, but due to how light this lure is, it does require, I guess, more advanced equipment to be able to fish it effectively, with the stock trout magnet and stock jig head coming in at a total of about 1 gram. But this lure is supremely effective, as I've caught trout easily while other people around me were having no luck with even live bait. But the only drawback to this lure, of course, is the fact that it is so light that it requires specialized BFS equipment to even cast it, and also the fact that I don't recommend this for really fast moving super deep water if the fish are on the bottom, because that kind of water will easily just drag this lure away before it even gets down to where the fish are. Now, as you can see, once again, I'm using an aftermarket jig head that gives this trout magnet a little bit more weight for better castability. So just remember, what catches the fish is the body itself, and if you can find a heavier jig head that will actually work with this small trout magnet body, that's even all the better. Alright, so the last class of lure I'm going to show to you guys is going to be a micro suspending jerkbait. And I'm talking 50 millimeters or less. So that means a 2-inch jerkbait or even smaller. Now, unfortunately, these jerkbaits are kind of hard to find here in America. I usually have to order from overseas, but I'm going to show you my 2 personal favorite ones in this class. And both of them are so effective I can't even decide which one is my favorite. But the first one is going to be the Lucky Craft Pointer 48 SP. And this lure has probably caught me more trout than any other lure. Now, it is very light, coming in at about 2.3 grams, so you will have to have a capable reel and rod, but it does cast extremely well for being so small. And what's deadly about this lure is the fact that it does suspend extremely well in cold water. I think that's why it caught me so many fish. Now, if you look at underwater footage of trout chasing a lure, you'll see that they're not like bass where they'll just come up and open their mouth and, you know, create that vacuum to suck the lure in. They actually chase the lures down and try to bite at them. And a lot of times they're unsuccessful because the lure is moving around too much. Now, with the suspending jerkbait, especially this Pointer 48, once you pause it, it'll just sit there in the water and it gives the trout an easier target. At least that's my theory as to why this lure works so great for trout. Now, as far as colors go, there are a shit ton of colors for this lure, but unfortunately these lures are very, very hard to get. I usually had to go on eBay for them. But this color right here is a good color. I think it's Aurora Black. But the good news is that Tackle Warehouse now sells the Pointer 48 SP in the, I guess, regular diving and deep diving, and the colors they have are actually pretty good. Now, the only drawback with this particular lure is that the hooks are very small, and even just moderate sized trout have bent these hooks up. Because if you've caught trout before, you know they'll thrash and thrash and thrash. But I don't recommend replacing these hooks with bigger, stronger ones because it may affect the balance of this lure. So I just put up with the weak hooks. But yeah, Lucky Craft Pointer 48 SP. Now, what is probably tied with the pointer as my favorite brand of suspending jerkbait is going to be the Duo Spearhead Ryuki. And of course, I'm talking about the 50 SP. Now, they do go as low as 38 millimeters, but just look at how beautiful that lure is. And even the package is stunning. Now, they're both supposed to be roughly the same size, but you can see that the Spearhead is a lot thicker than the pointer, and because of that, this is about 1 gram heavier, so it does cast better than the pointer 48, coming in at 3.3 grams. So your average ultralight bait finesse combo should be able to cast this lure easily with no problem, and they seem to suspend just as good as the pointers. Now, I've only started using these in the past few years, and they are somewhat hard to get and very expensive, as I don't think they sell them anywhere here in America. You have to order from overseas, and they sell out pretty quick. Now, when it comes to color, they do have a wide assortment of colors. I mean, I have a ton of them in this box right here, but I would recommend any color that has the Yamame pattern. And that Yamame pattern is a pattern that has those little oval circles that seem to resemble, I guess, young trout. And this particular color, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of a Yamame color. Maybe it says, it just says Yamame. But this color right here is my personal favorite out of all of them. But the Yamame pattern comes in different colors as well. Maybe I have one in here. Is this one? No. Let's check the other side, because I know there's a pink one. Well, here's another Yamame color. You can see it's got an orange belly. But yeah, this Yamame pattern doesn't just pertain to the Duo Spearheads. Any micro jerkbait with this pattern should prove to be successful. In fact, I'm trying it out in this Jackal brand. Gonna be trying that out pretty soon. But yeah, if you can't find the Spearhead Ryuki or, a Lucky Craft Pointer 48, but you can find other brands of micro suspending jerkbaits, if they have a Yamame pattern, I would go for that one first. So there we go, guys. These are my 4 favorite lures when bait finessing for trout. Of course, there are several other lures out there that will catch trout that you can cast on bait finesse gear, but these are the lures that have given me personally the most success. Now, a couple of tips I want to share. Now, if you're in an area that's dominated by fly fishermen, I would recommend going with the micro suspending jerkbait. Now, I've traveled to Colorado the past couple of years to go trout fishing, and it is rare to see anyone fishing that's not using fly fishing gear. You'll see 100 dudes fly fishing and maybe one using a ultralight spinning reel, but I think those trout just get wary of those flies being presented to them, thousands of times a year. And remember, trout eat fish more than they eat insects. Now, another tip I suggest is getting a little, small tackle box to hold your jerkbaits or your other lures that you can fit into your waders or your pocket. And also, I wouldn't use anything heavier than 5-pound fluoro. 4-pound is what I usually use, and I'll even go down to 2-pound when fishing the trout magnet. But anything higher than 4 or 5-pound line is gonna start affecting your castability of these ultralight lures. So once again, if you have a successful lure that you've been using for trout that you don't see on this list, let the people know down in the comment section so they can share in your success. Alright guys, thanks a lot.